What is going on, you guys? So today we're going to be taking a look at Valhalla by Lucas Wozniak. This is a game where you are trying to accumulate the most glory by sending your warriors out to the fields of battle to die gloriously and go to Valhalla. This game plays up to 6 and is primarily a card and dice game, and you're going to be pitting your warriors against other players. It plays up to 6 and it doesn't take that long. So let's go ahead and take a look at Valhalla. So when you play this game, you're going to have a player board, and you're going to have 4 slots for warriors on your player board. You're also going to have 4 slots for shields. These are going to be your shields for whatever your chosen color is. A place for collected shields, basically shields of your enemies. And you're going to have a spot over here for your Jarl. Every player is going to have a Jarl, which is going to give them some unique benefit that the other players don't have. And as well as you'll have a spot over here for your Valhalla, where you're basically your warriors that have died and gone to glory. Cards there will be placed face down, but they all have a glory value. So if we look at one of these warriors, we can see a couple of interesting things. And as we recruit more warriors, they're going to go here. You're going to have a different symbol up at the top, and this symbol is basically going to talk about which of the clans they belong to. So you have, in orange, you have the Bear clan, and yellow you have the Boar clan. You also have purple here, which is, the purple is the Deer clan, and you have a green, which is the Wolf clan. Now, I will point out that your purple and your orange are actually awfully similar. They're, if you have color problems, you may have a difficult time telling them apart. It would have been nice if the image was a different shape as well. However, I'll have to make do. Now, additionally, you're going to notice another thing that's important is the number on there. That's going to be their combat power. That's basically how strong they are. Below that, you're going to see there's going to be dice symbols, and there's going to be a couple of different dice. You're going to have 6 black dice, 6 red dice, and 3 white dice in the core game. And these are all 6-sided dice, and they're going to have, each side is going to have a different symbol, and you're going to basically use the symbols on these guys to try to match dice to them. Now, you have swords, you have bows, you have shields, you have spears, you have axes, and then of course you have the circle X, which is not good. And basically when you attack, you're going to roll your dice and try to match them up. The defender will grab a different set of dice, they'll roll those dice, and then these extra 3 white dice in the middle, while all of the dice are the same, the difference of the colors is just to distinguish them as being separate. These white dice in the middle are bonus dice that people can potentially use with different types of cards or Jarl abilities. For example, this Jarl, if you're attacking, you get 1 additional die, so you'll be able to take one of these and roll that, so you'll have more dice that you can potentially outfit your warriors. If you are able to get enough symbols to outfit a warrior, then they will activate and they will be able to join the fight that charges towards an enemy player. If I'm able to get multiples, then I can potentially activate, if I had another sword here, I can activate multiple characters and they can charge together, combining their power as well as any other bonuses they have. For example, this character, if I have one other green clan in my on my board here, I'm going to get +2 power. If I have 2 other greens, then I'm going to get +5 power. This character here has the ability that if the defending player has a purple clan, I'll get +3. There are also some other characters called Frost Giants, and Frost Giants have some other cool abilities as well. Let's take a look at them. So here I've got a couple of different Frost Giants out, as well as this really strong guy over here with a power of 8. But Frost Giants all have the same ability under their power, and that basically means that if a Frost Giant is attacking and they've been activated, which means I do have dice on them and they're activated, otherwise they're not considered activated, then my opponent will roll 1 less die when attacking. And it does say max 1, so there's really not much incentive for me to send more than 1 Frost Giant out. But if I send a Frost Giant, at least 1, my opponent will be able to roll 1 less die when they're attacking. And my opponent's going to do the same thing. They're going to roll dice to try to outfit their defenders and compare power. And basically, in combat is pretty simple like that. You're basically just comparing power versus power, but you can also you also have the opportunity to play other cards, battle tactic cards as well, that can do all sorts of things like increase your power or allow you to roll additional dice and all different types of combat effects. So let's say I had only 3 warriors on my board and I wanted to attack. I could go ahead and attack. I could roll my dice. I would get an extra die because of this particular Jarl, and I could roll all of my dice and try to see what I'm able to activate. So it looks like I got 2 axes, I got 2 swords, I got 2 spears, and I got an X. And so I have a couple of things. I could kind of line some things up. I see I've got 2 axes right there. I've got a spear, but I don't have a bow. I do have 1 sword that could go right here. Now, one of the things you can do when you're attacking is I can spend a die, remove it, to re-roll any number of other dice. So I can re-roll these other 2, try to go for what I was looking for. I ended up getting a shield and another X. So what I could do is I could say, all right, well, actually I have a sword and a shield to equip her, and I could be done right there, which might not be optimal because that means I didn't have enough to outfit this guy or this guy. So looks like I would only be going in with 2 combat power. And then maybe I play a combat card that is going to give me, I might play something like this, which is going to add 2 to my strength. So I could do something like that. Or I could play a combat card like this. This is going to give me 2 additional rerolls, and without having to spend a dice to do that. Or I could play a really nasty card like this that says, I can only use this card if I'm the attacker. My defender, the defender can't use their Jarl's special abilities, which can be particularly nasty. And there's all different types of cards I could play. Once I'm done attacking, I announce what my combat power is, and then the defender gets to roll their dice and play their cards, and they now have the advantage of they know what number they have to beat. So if they can't beat it, maybe they don't bother wasting their cards. But at the same time, there's also an advantage for the attacker, because if we are tied in value, the attacker will win the tie. So what happens after a battle? So we'll say, for example, I had equipped these 2 powered individuals and sent them off to attack this the teal player, and they only had power of 2 and I had power of 4. So I would be the winner at the end of after all cards had been played, and that would mean a couple of things. First off, it means I get a shield from that player, and that's going to go over here. Shields help you earn extra victory points at the end of the game, so that's important. Additionally, all of the warriors that I activated, if I'm the winner, will go ahead and go down to Valhalla. Now, what's important about that is this number down here at the bottom. That's how many glory points they're going to be worth. Glory points are victory points. That's how you win the game. So glory points are important. That's another thing that is also particularly less useful about having frost giants, is frost giants tend to be worth only 1 glory point each, whereas some of your lesser powerful warriors are worth more points. So there's a little bit of a balance. Do I go for somebody who's really, really strong and easy to use, but that's not going to help me win the game? So your attacking units have to go there, at least the ones that you activated. However, let's say, for example, my opponent played a couple of combat cards and they won the battle. So what would happen in that case is they do not have to give me a shield. And if the defender wins, they have the option of sending their guys to Valhalla, or they can keep their guys out if they want to. If they're planning a really big attack, they get to choose. So they have some flexibility, although usually it's a good idea to go ahead and send your troops to Valhalla anyway, because you're getting free opportunities to put more cards into your victory point pile at that time. Now, there are some different rules for playing with different numbers of players. For example, if you're only playing a 2-player game, you're actually going to start with 40 cards already discarded out of the top of the deck, because there's 2 ways that can trigger the end of the game. One is a player losing all of their shields, and the other is when the cards all run out. So instead of just playing for a very, very long time with only 2 players, you're going to basically cut the time down just a little bit, because you're going to be drawing and going through this deck very, very quick. The other thing you're going to do is everybody's going to be able to have a couple of different Jarls dealt to them, and they'll choose one and put the other ones back, and then everybody's going to draw 7 cards and discard 2 face down, and then they'll flip them all over, and those will go into the discard pile. And so maybe I would say, all right, I don't want these 2, so I'll discard those, and then we'll all flip them all over. We'll start that discard pile, and I'm going to start my turn. So the way a turn structure works is you're going to have this little reference card here that's going to tell you, remind you how you can use your turn, and you're going to have an A and a B phase to your turn. Now, the A phase gives you choices. You're going to have 4 different things that you can do. You're also going to have a B phase, which is basically just drawing 2 cards, choosing one of them to keep and one to put into the discard pile. Every player is going to be doing that at the end of each of one of their turns, so you're going to go through this pile pretty quick. Even though it does look like there's a lot of cards there, it can go through very quickly, and that's one of the things that makes this game a little bit faster when it's being played. Another thing that's going to change depending on how many players you have in the game is the way shields are going to be scored. For example, in larger amounts of players in the game, you're going to get more shield bonuses depending on how many shields. Like if you're able to collect a shield from each different player, you'll gain more points for that. You'll gain sets, and it disincentivizes you to just go after one player and end the game right away, because you won't get as many victory points if all of your shields are from the same player. So you have a little bit of incentive there to spread out the damage a little bit and to kind of involve everyone. And that's another thing about this, is you're not just sitting around on your turn waiting for it to be your turn again when everybody else is taking their turns. You're also defending when different players are attacking you, so it kind of keeps at least 2 people involved in the game at all times. So what am I going to do? So let's take a look at A. First thing I can do is I can play a warrior from my hand. By the way, everybody's going to start with a warrior, and you do a draft for a couple of warriors at the beginning. So everybody will start with at least 1, and you'll be able, exactly 1, and then you'll be able to play a warrior from your hand. So I could play this warrior from my hand and put them on my pile as my A phase. Now another thing you could do is you could play 2 warriors as long as they're smaller warriors. So for example, if let's say I started with a stronger warrior like that, I could play 2 warriors as long as the total number of dice on both of their cards combined was not greater than 3. So I could play these 2, because 1 and then 2. I could put 2 warriors down as my A action. But I couldn't do that for these 2, because obviously they have 8 total. So as long as I'm putting down 3 symbols or less total, so I could put down 2 1s, but I couldn't put down 2 2s. So that's something I could do. Now also, it's worth noting that if I don't have any warriors, let's say I attacked last turn and sent everybody to Valhalla, I must put down a warrior. I must put down a warrior if I have one. Otherwise, I'm going to have to draw. So let's go back and just say we were starting out here. So I could play a warrior. I could play 2 warriors if they were weaker. I could do combat, and we already talked about combat, and that's the main way you gain victory points to win the game. So combat's very important. That's one of the things you're going to be doing the most. Or if I just don't like the cards in my hand, or I don't have that many cards in my hand, I can draw 2 and discard 1 as my A phase. And then I'll immediately move to my B phase, which is also to draw 2 and discard 1. So if I don't have any good cards in my hand, and I've already played all of my warriors and all of my battle tactic cards, I can just draw 2, discard 1, and then draw 2, discard 1 again. And so the turns can go very, very fast when you're just trying to build up a hand of cards to play. Play will proceed until all the cards have run out. Game will basically end. You will add up all your victory points, and they are in secret, so you're not going to know how much everybody else has. Although it is public knowledge when they die and they go there, but it's becomes a little bit tricky to kind of keep tabs on everybody and however much they have. Once you start losing shields, you're also giving your opponents victory points, so you kind of want to balance between offense and defense, but the main part of this game is equipping these guys, sending them off to battle, and having them die gloriously. Now the game box insert is actually pretty well done. I've got enough room for all of my base game cards here, as well as a bunch of the different expansions that are going to be coming with the Kickstarter. You've got several different types of expansions, such as Loki's Deception, Thor's Support, the Dwarves of Svartalheim, Valkyries, King of the Hill, and Brothers in Arms. So all those cards can go over here, as well as there's room for extra dice that are going to be available during the Kickstarter. Here as well, this playmat, which is actually pretty nice, and you can do that for all of your common area cards. You can roll your dice on it. You can have your discard pile as well, and that fits into this insert very, very nicely as well. And it comes with this really nice resin miniature, which is just gorgeous. It's really one of the nicest miniatures I've seen in a while, so that much is very cool as well. And all of these are going to be available during the Kickstarter in various pledge forms, so definitely check this out. So what do I think about Valhalla? Well, first off, I love that it plays up to 6. Not that many games play up to 6 players, so I like that you can get a lot of people involved in one game. I also like the fact that it plays pretty quickly and is not very hard to teach. It's actually one of the easier games I've had to teach, which does mean it is actually pretty light, which can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing if you're trying to get new people in and looking for a good gateway game. I think the art on these cards are phenomenal. I think the look of the game is very cool. I think the feel of the game does definitely feel like you're trying to have warriors killed and sent to Valhalla right away. I like the presentation of the game, and as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to show you the packaging. When I opened this game up, I think it was a lot of extra effort done with that, and I think it was beautiful. But one of my biggest complaints with the game is that it is a little bit light, which is a pro and a con, but also the fact that the icons to the orange and purple are very similar. I could see that being a slight problem if you have a problem differentiating between oranges and purples. It would have been nice if the symbols were a little different. That being said, all in all, I think it's a very fun game, very light, very quick to play, especially to accommodate 6 players. Actually plays fairly well. And it's not too mature. There's no nudity. You don't have to worry about anything like that. So it's very family friendly, despite the whole let's all die in glorious battle. As long as you're okay with that, I think you'll have no problems with this game at all. So I like it, and I encourage you to check it out. But definitely, before you go, make sure you subscribe, click that bell for alerts, and check out this awesome note.
That's it for me. I've fought my last fight, and I've shed my last drop of blood. Now it's your time. It's time for your fight, so pick up your sword and axe and fight! Fight to the very last breath. Fight to die in glory. Fight and join me in Valhalla.